Welcome back to Friday's Living Markets programme. Now, this sculpture by Swiss artist Alberto Giacometti was the highest-selling work at Christie's annual Swiss art sale last week. The auction comes as interest in Swiss art is growing. Our reporter, Tanya König, is here to tell us a little bit more about this. But first, here's a sneak peek of her behind-the-scenes access as the hammer went down.
We're at Christie's and bidding is underway for this sculpture. It's not long before Alberto Giacometti's Lampe coupe deux is sold. It was the highest priced artwork of the evening.
He absolutely knew what he wanted, so there was an easy job. I didn't have to do much more. I had other clients tonight, which you had to just literally work a little bit more, but this client was literally convinced he's going to be the new owner of that sculpture.
Can you tell us anything about the client?
I spoke German, let's put it that way. So it gives you a little bit of a hint.
Also staying secret until later in our report is how much it went for. The estimated price, though, was between 500,000 to 700,000 Swiss francs.
Well, Tanya König joins me now in the studio to chat about this. And Tanya, come on, give us a clue. How much did this Giacometti piece sell for in the end?
You're making me reveal my secret. So the hammer price was 880,000 Swiss francs, and that's the amount that the seller will get. Of course, Christie's will add a commission. In this case, it's 20% of the hammer price, meaning that the buyer will end up paying over 1 million Swiss francs. What was very interesting at the auction was that out of the top best-selling items, 7 were from a Giacometti family member. So Giacomettis are just bestsellers.
But not just Giacometti's. I mean, Swiss art in general seeing a bit of a growth spurt.
Absolutely. So I learned that traditionally Swiss art was being bought by Swiss collectors, but that has long time changed. If we look at institutions like the Met or Musée d'Orsay in Paris, or Pushkin Museum in Moscow, they have all bought in at the Swiss art sale of Christie's. And even the record price for a Giacometti sculpture was actually fetched in New York in 2015.
So there's obviously demand out there, but how are auction houses doing? Because we're constantly talking about the slowing economic environment here. Are they surviving okay?
Well, obviously, or of course, the art market is kind of a mirror of the global economy. So if we look at the numbers of the first half year of 2019, we can see a decrease. Let me give you some numbers. So sales over $10 million shrank by 35% in the first half of this year. The average price of an artwork this year was at $46,000, while last year it was $61,000. But the numbers don't tell the whole story, because sometimes it's just one particular sale that can drive the average price up. If I think about Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci, it sold for $450 million. Can you imagine? 450 million, I mean, one item. Of course, that will drive the price up.
And what about impacts such as things like Brexit? What kind of impact does that have?
So this year we can see that the UK market was at its lowest level over the past 6 years, so down minus 24%. So probably it has something to do with Brexit uncertainty. But Brexit uncertainty also affects other areas such as logistics. Christie's, for instance, works with a British handling partner, and they told me that they are very concerned. So for the upcoming auction in Geneva in November, they're making sure that they move everything out of the country right before the time or in time, so that they don't get stuck at the border. But I actually spoke to him, and we can listen to what he said.
Everything we do is time critical, so we can't pack up our gear and send it via a transport company and say, well, when you get there, you get there. We have to prepare to be there for a certain day, to set up in time. So we can't take the risk of not being there on time. So we have to pay the extra cost incurred. We work to deadlines all over Europe, and Brexit is a problem for companies that work to those tight deadlines.
Well, I have to confess, Tanya, I have never been to an art auction. So what surprised you when you went to visit the behind-the-scenes aspect?
So I was also surprised to see that there were people like you and me there, because when I think about auctions, I always think about these record million sold items. But there were things that were being sold for a few hundred Swiss francs. So there's art for you and me, basically.
Wonderful. Tanya König, thank you very much indeed. Well, you can watch the full Christie's interview. It's coming up very shortly after this programme on tonight's edition of Out and About.